What's up, Spotlight fam? Welcome back to the Easy Way on the Spotlight DMV. It is your girl Rose with my man Easy, the Easy Way.
Easy way is the only way.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So it's been a month since our first episode launched, and I'm so excited to have you back again. And guys, this is going to be a reoccurring series on the Spotlight. And before we get into today's conversation, I want to give a special shout out to Spice Black right here in Largo Plaza for hosting us and allowing space for this conversation to happen. They have healthier dishes for you that are made with quality ingredients and are still convenient. And let me shout out my favorite bowl, the barbecue chickpea ranch. And I'm not a ranch girl, however, Chef Kurt encouraged me to try it. I tried it, I love it. I sometimes add shrimp, but if you're not into shrimp, then you could just eat it with the chickpeas, and I promise you, it is one of my favorites. So make sure we're supporting Spice Black and tell them your girl from the Spotlight DMV sent you. And so now, back to our conversation, Easy.
Yeah.
So we launched last month, and we talked about discipline, the work that nobody sees. You know, folks always see the end outcome, but they don't see all the hard work that it takes to get to that end.
Yeah.
And now today we're going to be talking about something that is impacting so many people right now. Losing a job, leaving a job, being let go from a job, or just hitting a breaking point in your career and then sitting in that space of, now what?
Now what?
And so we kind of exchanged some stories about our journeys. You know, I left my job in October of 2022, and it was something that I have been thinking about, but I just never really thought that I would do it because I've been working since I was 15 years old. Your girl has put in work.
A long time.
It's a long time.
You just hit the big.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on camera.
Yes. Listen, I'm very proud of my experience and how many years I have been on this earth. Yes, I have just celebrated my 50th birthday on February 8th. And I'm sure a lot of you saw the concert that was sponsored by the NFL in my honor. Listen, I'm going to talk about that all the time because it was just a coincidence that it fell on my birthday, but it was just all about what we're here about on the Spotlight DMV, bringing people together. So I just hit my 50th, and 2022, I walked away from my job, and I know you have some stories about walking away, being forced away.
More like being forced away.
So tell us a bit about your journey of, having to make that pivot.
So with real estate, when I initially started real estate as a salesperson, because I was an investor. So when I started as a salesperson, a lot of my business was from my job. I worked at 3 hospitals at the same time.
Oh, wow.
I worked at Howard University Hospital, I worked at Providence Hospital, and I worked at PG Hospital. I think they call it University of Maryland Hospital right now. So a lot of my business were from nurses, physicians, like firefighters, everybody in the medical space. So I never wanted to leave the job because I felt this is where my business was coming from.
Yeah.
My first deal ever was for my guy. Today's his birthday. Akini is a nurse at Howard University Hospital. He gave me the opportunity to represent him, and I helped him buy a house. And I was just helping different nurses buy properties. So my business was picking up. So then eventually I got fired.
Because I can only imagine, tapping into the network at your 9 to 5. And I know in healthcare, it may not have been 9 to 5.
Yes.
But, that's what we call a stable job, right? A 9 to 5. That there was probably some sort of impact on your productivity and things like that.
Huge impact.
Yes.
Huge impact because I immersed myself into real estate. I gave it my all, and I was constantly marketing and advertising. So any nurse I saw, any technician I saw, any police officer that came in through there, hey man, I'm a real estate agent too. I do this, but I'm a real estate agent. And I kept on doing it consistently. And I had a number every day that I had. I think my number was 20 people I gave my business card to. So eventually I kept on doing it, and the word got back to management. Like, hey, this guy's, and also like, I think I put in so much effort into it that I couldn't really see myself. But now thinking back, I'm sure they could tell like my body was there, but my mind wasn't in the job anymore.
Yeah.
My mind was on being successful in real estate, and eventually I got terminated from 2 jobs simultaneously. Yeah.
So when you got terminated, like, was that, you already were making some sales in
Mhm.
real estate? How did that affect your personal life? Because I feel like for me, a big part of the reason why it was difficult for me
Mhm.
to let go, as I said, I have been working since I was 15.
Mhm.
And then not only that, we had a lot of debts. In the last episode, I mentioned about credit cards, right?
Yeah.
And being in college,
Mhm.
and you're able to get all these credit
Loans and stuff.
cards,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
without having a job. And honestly, that started me out on a path of being indebted to
Mhm.
these credit cards. I was working to be able to pay off these bills. And I was at a point where I was like, I'm never going to not
That
be
was.
able to work. I'm
Yeah.
going to always have to work
Mhm.
because I have this large amount of debt.
Mhm.
And so for you, how did you manage, what did you have to, you kind of thrown into that, but what did it look like for you personally?
Yeah, I was terrified because like you, I've been working all the time. I believed in real estate, but I figured out a system to make money from revolving around the job. So a
Hmm.
lot of my clients are from the job. So I couldn't see another way out. I was
Mm,
just like, how would I get clients now? Because working in the medical field, most people in the medical field are, they're making money. Everybody's making consistent income.
yeah.
So you're running into all these people. So I was worried about where would I get my new clients from. And I just had a daughter. I was worried about her insurance because she was on my insurance, and I owned several property already. Even though they were making income, I still needed cash to manage the properties I had. So I was really, really concerned. I was scared. And there's the embarrassment of getting terminated, that
Yes.
all combined together. But what I did was, I tightened up. I created a structure. I told myself, because I worked 3 jobs, at that time, I told myself I was going to do exactly what I was doing. Wake up early in the morning, go to the gym, get dressed, get suited up, go to the brokerage, sit down in the brokerage and start calling like I created a structure. I had a lunch break. I had a lunch break for myself from 12 to 12:30.
Mm,
It's like kind of similar to when I had a regular job.
yeah.
So I created that structure for myself and I stuck to it and I kept on doing it, and the deals just started coming. And I found a different way to get new clients. So
Mhm.
I veered away because I couldn't go to the hospital anymore. So I went and I started prospecting. I started going to the different stores to meet people, and that's how I started building the brand from that.
That first and foremost,
Mhm. Mhm.
I really love that you use what was around you to
Mhm.
build your client base, because we call that the side hustle, right?
Mhm.
And then your side hustle ended up taking over.
Mhm.
And so for me, I went back to work full time in February of 2022, back into the office. And so, of course, with COVID and the pandemic, we have been working remotely since March of
Mhm.
2020. And being remote, I got a taste of being able to feel some freedoms and
Mhm.
have some time to manage my schedule in a way that I wasn't able to do when I was in the
Mhm.
office, right? And when I think of when I went back to work in February, a lot of us, like, we were texting each other, we didn't want to go back. And our CEO, he believed that it's necessary for us to be in the office. We need to have that human interaction.
Mhm.
That's a part of what makes us work,
Mhm.
being together. And, a lot of us were like,
No, I'm
screw that. We ain't trying to go back. And he was very steadfast in that, and people tried to give proposals and things like that, and he's like, no. And I understand that it's going to cause some people to leave, and I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
And so we all heard that loud and
Mhm.
clearly, and we were like, wow.
Mhm.
So, like, all of us took it a different way, but I was silently protesting. I would go to work. And before the pandemic, there was not a day you would catch me at my job dressed to the nines, makeup, heels, hair done, nails done, everything did. Like, you would never catch me not looking good.
Mhm.
I would go to work in my workout clothes, zero makeup. I just did not care how I was showing up. And, people were talking about silent quitting at that time. I used to work like long hours, whatever it took to get the job done, I would get the job done. And I got to the point where it's like, nope, I'm here 9 to 5. After 5, I'm
You're
out.
done.
Yes. And so I thought that I was going to get fired. And I feel like because I was so afraid to leave on my own, I kind of was trying to
Get yourself
facilitate that.
Get yourself fired, yeah.
And so every month we'd have a one-on-one conversation with your supervisor. She's like, oh, you're doing such a great job. And I'm like, what does it take to get fired from this?
Is it the government?
No, it was a nonprofit.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the time working there until I didn't. And I think that that was a big part of it. Like, life had changed for me, for a lot of people over COVID, and
Yeah.
we got to just prioritize our lives in a different way. And I was in a different space where I wanted to prioritize something different, but I just did not know what that was. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was next. I didn't know what to look for. People were like, oh, well, send me your resume. I don't even know what to tell you I want to do. And so my husband would encourage me. Like, I would call him almost every day, and I'm at work and I'm complaining, and I'm like, okay, I quit my job, and he'd be like, okay. And almost every day I would say that to him, and his answer was always, okay. And he was encouraging me. He was like, I have us and we'll be okay. Because let me tell you what happened. I talked about being in debt, but in 2021, there was a way that I was able to get rid of that debt. And that was through home ownership. We owned a townhouse, and we saw what the market was like. And we saw that if we sold our townhouse, we would be able to pay off all of our debt and still have some money left over. And also, my husband's grandmother, God bless her soul, and may she rest in peace, she passed in 2019. And so no one was in her home. And his mom was considering selling that house. And so I was like, well, what if we sold our house? I was really into financial literacy at that time and trying to find a way to freedom. And I was like, I proposed to my husband, what if we sell the townhouse and we use the money to pay off our debts and we move into grandma's house? Do you think that that would be something that mom would go for? And, he wasn't on board at first because he was like, I have a plan for us to pay off everything in 3 years. But then that would, again, I wasn't thinking about leaving my job at that time. This was 2021. But I still felt saddled with the debt,
Yeah.
And so it took some conversations. I even did a PowerPoint presentation so that he could see, because I feel like if you see the data in time and what it looks like, then maybe that'll give him a different way to see it. And so finally he agreed. He spoke to his mom. She agreed. And after that, like, I felt a freedom that I have never felt
Before.
in my life, not since college, because I was saddled with that debt since college. And so, it was almost kind of like, talk to me different. I don't have no bills. Talk to me different. And I know that a part of what happens with people is when they do pay off those bills, they go and run it right back up.
They go get a new Mercedes.
Exactly. And for me, because I knew what it felt like to be saddled with that debt, I was like, nope, that is never going to happen to me again, where I'm in this position where I feel so hopeless and so tied to something. And when I'm ready to leave, I can't leave because of that reason,
Imagine.
Yeah. And so I know a lot of what you talk about is ownership.
Yeah.
And for me, it was ownership of my time that really pressed me on to want to do something different. And for you, it was wanting to move on to a new career and really be able to focus on that career
Yeah.
fully. And so with that being said, I want to talk about the pivot, because there are some people right now that are facing some of these same things that we're facing, where that we faced, where they didn't ask to be let go from their job, and or they're looking for something new to do, but they just don't know what that new thing is. And so for you, what are some of the things that you can tell people that they need to focus on when you're in this period of what's next, and I need to create something different, I need to create something new? What are some of the things that they can focus on in order to take that step to use the experience that they have to move forward?
One thing I usually tell people, because I have this conversation often. It doesn't sound like it, but I meet people all the time that ask me the same question, and a lot of them underestimate the level of effort it takes. So just think about massive action, like doing as much as you can, using every minute of your time towards your dream or your goal.
Yeah.
Like everything you have, like any opportunity, you're the babysitter. Hey, baby, like for me, in real estate, hey, babysitter, I'm a real estate agent. You know anybody who, like just constantly put in all the effort you can. And the honest truth is that you're not going to be successful immediately. That's what some people think, like, because when you watch the movie, show the guy, like, after 20 minutes into the movie, he's successful. But in real life, it takes like a lot of effort, a lot of time. Like everything you could think of takes massive level. Like this, the person who made this, the first person who ever had the idea to create this, took a lot of effort. He put in a lot of effort to this, the chair, the table, all these things. And that's what is required. If you're not ready to put that level of effort into what you want to do or believe in, then just don't do it.
Yeah.
It's just work. It's real work, But the opportunity is there, especially in this country.
Yes.
America is a really, really great country, and there's a lot of opportunities. And we have the banks will finance your dream. Like you go to the bank with a proposal. It's different in other countries. I'm from a different country, so I still talk to my friends who live in other countries, and I know how difficult it is. But if you put your mind in and you put the work in and you structure yourself for your whole day on exactly what you're going to do towards promoting and becoming successful in your business, trust me.
And I think that's important, like the structure that you talked about, because as I mentioned, once I finally did leave, and even though it did take my husband time to encourage me, he encouraged me, but it still took me time to finally make the decision. And what the catalyst for me was that every year that company, they had a big show in October, and the entire staff had to go to the show. And it was almost September, and I had not
Yeah.
I haven't bought my flight yet. And I was like, if I do not buy this flight, it's going to cost a whole lot of money, and they're not going to be happy. And so I was like, I have to make a decision today about what I'm going to do. And when I got to work that day, I met a woman in the elevator, and it's just by coincidence. And so we were talking, and at the end of our conversation, she turns back to me and she says, whatever it is in life that you want to do, I believe that you can do it. I see it in you, and I believe that you could do it. And I got chill.
She just randomly told you.
We were just, I like to talk, and so we were just chit chatting, and that's how she ended the conversation. And I was like, "That is God," because I said a prayer that morning. I said, "God,
Show me a sign.
show me a sign. I need to make a decision. Please help me."
Yeah.
And that conversation that day, I gave my notice that day, and I remember my director, she's like, well, let's talk about this, and let's see, what are some options. And I told her about the conversation in the elevator. She started crying.
Mm.
She started crying. And so afterwards, I called my husband and I said, I gave my notice.
Mm.
And this was almost the everyday conversation we had. And I was like, I'm very
This
serious.
time it's real.
It's for real.
Yeah.
And he was so excited. And so for me, then I left in October. I went to the show. I left in October and I was depressed after.
You're like, oh my God, I missed my job.
Depressed. And not necessarily that I missed it, but what you talked about, I missed the structure.
Yeah.
Because now it's like I could do anything I wanted to do, and I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Watch movies, like Netflix and chill all day.
I could do anything, and so I didn't know what I wanted to do, and so like for the first 2 months, I really just chilled and I processed what had just happened, and then I started just going to events, like whatever events I could find, I would go to.
Okay.
Mhm. I started networking. I started going to things where they talked about, come to this seminar and learn about funding your ideas, learn about how to write a proposal, learn about how to win a grant, come out and meet other people. And so I started going to things like that. And at that point, I was not clear about what the Spotlight DMV was going to be. I was even nervous to go out in public to talk about it because I'm like, I sound crazy. Like, I don't even know how to answer. Like, you go in and they want to know, what do you do and what services do you offer? I was like, I don't know yet. But what I will say is that even though I did feel embarrassed sometimes to be in those rooms because I didn't think that I was to a point where I could even be presenting this to people, this is the point of being in those rooms.
Yeah.
Because the more that you talk about your ideas and the more that you meet other people, you'll be able to get some clarity, you'll be able to get some structure around what you're doing. And so I found that very, very helpful for me to be around other people that were maybe even just 10 steps ahead of me, and they would offer to me what they did and how they were able to do things. But what I will say is a part of what you said, having that schedule was so important because those 2 months when I was just doing, I was just chilling and trying to process, it left me in a place where I kind of didn't want to do anything, but I was like, no, you got to get out there and not to look for a job, just
Connect to network.
yes, connecting and networking. And so let's talk about that because I know that you are a master. I'm calling you a master, but it's because you are in a lot of spaces and being in those spaces really helps you to be able to connect with other people.
Yeah.
So what are some things that people could do as far as networking and putting themselves out there?
It's something I started doing recently. I think I mentioned it to you, Toastmasters.
Yeah.
I started doing Toastmasters about a year and some change ago. After I started, I was so angry at myself. Like, why haven't I been doing this since? Imagine if I've been going to Toastmasters since I was 21 or 25. Because at Toastmasters, everybody in there is taking an hour and a half to 2 hours of your time to come improve themselves. So everybody in that room is a certain kind of person. They're trying to improve themselves. Those are the people you need to be around. Because it's like iron sharpen iron. You want to be in that with that energy because you're tapping in from their energy. You're giving your energy. They're giving ideas. Like I met a kid. He's not a kid. He's a young guy though, and his goal is he wants to be on TEDx. He's like 20 something years old. He wants to be on TEDx and he wants to give a speech at TEDx. So I'm grown and he's motivated me. I'm thinking like, wow, he wants to be on TEDx. They have professors there, they have physicians there, they have attorneys, they have all kinds of people there. But the most important thing is they're all trying to improve themselves. Those are the rooms you need to be around. Then after the class, you exchange business cards and you might meet a lawyer, you just connected. And that's just one thing. Then go for networking events and the chambers, of course.
Yeah.
The chambers is awesome, man.
Well, so there is a monthly networking opportunity that is free. to that point, you know, that was something that
this happened.
This is how this happened, exactly. And for me, when I did go to the very first one, that was December of 2023, and I found it so valuable that I ended up joining and becoming a member. Yeah, yeah. And I like what you're saying about being in a space where people are trying to improve themselves. Because you know, I know we're talking about jobs, but this is life, y'all. We have one life to live. And I feel like that is what was my wake up call. It's like, there's no more time to be sitting here and waiting for permission for somebody to tell you that it's okay to do what it is that you're dreaming of, or what you feel is your purpose, or what you feel like you're being called to. And in 2020, I just had a huge wake up call, a calling that was like, you need to be out here and helping people tell their stories. And I had always been in the publishing industry, but I was not a writer, I was not a storyteller. But being at my last organization, I got to be in spaces where I was helping them with with the members telling their stories and making sure that the stories got in front of an audience and that people knew what was going on in that industry. And so a part of what I was then able to do, because as I said, I didn't know what I was going to do next. I didn't want to be in publishing in the same manner. I didn't want, I was mostly print production, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to do something that was more creative in getting the stories out. And I just didn't know how to approach it. And so I was able to think back on my time at that organization was so well spent. And it was a time of learning for me. I was there 11 years, and I was able to help them start a podcast, launch it, and grow it. I was able to work on the audience.
And that knowledge from that is what you use to apply to.
Exactly. And so that was the piece of how I also prepared for what was next. Once I started going out and people would ask me about my work and what do I do, and I would talk about, you know, I have this platform where you could come and tell your story. And, you know, I do a lot of work on social media. And now all of a sudden people are like, oh, well, can you help me with my social media? Can you help me with my story? How can I get my story out there? What are some of the things that I need to do? So I think that's a big piece of it as well, moving into that next step. What skills can you take and offer to help someone else? And a part of what I also had to do was I had to serve, you know, like you said, I didn't just come in the door and all of a sudden I'm making money. I had to serve and show people the value of these skills that I'm bringing. And so what are some of the skills that you had to be able to transfer from nursing or whatever other rooms that you were in?
Like customer service, dealing with people. So I worked in the medical field, I was always dealing with people. So my people skills,
Yeah.
I was able to bring that into real estate. Then I was able to use the network because I've been in the medical fields for like 2 decades. So what ended up happening, so all those people I met all over the years helped me a lot in terms of networking. Like me and you, for example. I know a sister. A sister used to work with me at Holy Cross Hospital. So she kind of connected us, even though we met again at the
Coffee
chambers.
connections,
Yeah,
yes.
at the chambers. So you see, like, so I used that network of all those, because I worked at Howard University Hospital. So it was a lot of medical students. And those medical students then, now physicians now. So a lot of them have contacted me because, you know, we follow each other on LinkedIn, we follow each other on Facebook, and they follow me and they see that I'm, you know, very passionate about real estate. So they come back and they contact me like, hey, I have this property in Baltimore I'm trying to sell, or I have this property I'm trying to buy. You know, they know I'm an expert in this, so they reach out to me.
Yeah.
So those connections were important, and they were very helpful. So, you know, so think about doing that.
Yeah.
But definitely networking. Networking is so important.
Yeah. And
So
managing
important.
the relationships, like
Yeah.
you're saying, because it's and you touched on that the last time too. It's one thing to meet people, but then to also manage the relationships. And when you're out networking, it's very like I know so many people.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of difficult to manage one-on-one all the time, but that's why I do like the networking events because it's like I get to see these people that I get to see the folks that I'm in it with, come to this event and let's catch up
Yeah.
and let's see what you're working on and how we can help each other out. And so that's the another takeaway, the relationship management. And then also you mentioned about making a grand movement. And I think that is a huge thing, moving
Or action.
before you feel ready. Because we're in a time right now where a lot of people they talk about how they feel and I don't feel like this or I don't feel like that. And sometimes you just have to do regardless of how you feel. Because I promise you, as I mentioned before, there were so many times where I was going to something and I'm intimidated. I don't know if I belong in the room. Do I have anything to offer of value? I don't feel like this person that I want people to see me as yet. But I went and I came back and I was like, wow, I'm so glad that I went to that because had I not gone, I would have never received the information that I received, or there's some person that I met that helped take me to another level, or gave me an idea, or just anything. And so I really had to push myself because listen, you give me a chance to be like, well, no, maybe you should think about okay. And so that mindset shift for me had to really, it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it takes time.
It
It's
takes
difficult.
time. Yeah.
It's very difficult. Yeah, you have to fight. Like I have to fight every day. Taking massive action. Like my goals are so lofty that I have to make moves. Like my goals, million families and million homes, being the best real estate agent in the whole country. So I have to make moves. I have to be meeting people constantly. I have to meet people and not only meet people. I have to follow up with people. I have to make them remember me. Because what's the point of meeting the president of WUSA today and you just don't see him again? Like you have to meet him, get his information, follow up with him, make sure he remembers you. And what I tell people, especially my new agents who work for me, that's why importance of creating content. Because let's say you meet somebody and you add them in your social media, like LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, if they don't see you again, they probably forget you.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly creating content and they keep kind of seeing you, like some people will say, oh, I met you 2 years ago, but I see you on my timeline all the time. And anytime I think about real estate, I think about you because you're constantly making movements. You should always take action.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's happened to me before, which it just kind of makes me laugh because it's such a weird feeling because I talk about, Prince George's County.
Yeah.
And so I've had people come up to me before and they're like, oh, I've seen your content. And I'm like,
Yeah,
wow, yeah. But I love that people are finding it helpful and the information is useful to them. Um, and so talk about some of the things that you have said for 2026 that you are going to concentrate on, some of those movements. And I know we're talking about making big movements. Sometimes the movements are small, right? And so what are some movements for 2026 that you're working on?
I feel like I'm going to keep on strengthening the things I'm doing already. Like my home buying seminars, I have it every month, trying to get more people to come. It's difficult to get people to come out, especially for education. For networking events, they'll come. But education, getting more people to come out, also spreading. Like you, I do a lot of in PG County. But what I've been doing for the past month and a half, I've been branching out to Montgomery County, hitting the malls in that part of town, spending about an hour in each mall, connecting with new people, meeting new people. Because especially in my business or just any kind of business, the people are the one that are going to bring you the money.
Yeah.
They're gonna want to help you get grades. They're the ones who are gonna get you in rooms that you can't get. So like recently, I was in a mall. I met this lady, and she took me to the Bethesda Chambers of Commerce events.
Mm.
So I went to the Bethesda Chamber of Commerce events, and I'm meeting different people like this, totally different from the PG County. I've
Yeah.
been just focused on PG County for the past 5-6 years. So you're just making little moves like that is what I've been.
Yeah, and I think that's important to because the DMV area is a really big area.
6 million people.
6 million people.
I tell you, 6 million people. My goal is to put 1 million family in 1 million homes. So at first, I used to think the whole country. Then I was just like, yeah, I could do the whole country too. But I wanted to find out my numbers for the DMV. And there's 6 million people in the DMV. And every month, 70,000 people move.
Wow.
70,000 people move in the DMV. Every month in Maryland, 5,000 people buy homes. So like the reason I'm telling you all these numbers is there's opportunity
Yes.
here. Like I don't have to go to New York. Like the DMV has all these people that we could take. We could help with real estate. We could help with whatever kind of business you're into.
And I think that is the biggest takeaway from this conversation today
Mhm.
is that there is opportunity.
Mhm.
And sometimes, you know, you're going to be forced into it.
Mhm.
You're not going to have the choice to say that I choose this and I choose that. It's going to be it's going to be a decision that is made for you.
Yeah.
And so, what are you going to do? What is going to be your response? And so, our conversation today we've talked about making sure that you are prepared financially. And I know we don't always know when we're going to be impacted. Like in my story, I didn't know that in 2021, when I wanted to sell my house to get rid of debt, I didn't know that I was going to be wanting to walk away from my job with nothing lined up.
Mhm.
But at that time, I was very focused on being financially literate. And so through that obsession, because it was an obsession,
Yeah.
I was able to prepare that way.
Mhm.
And then we talked about auditing your skills. What skills do you have that can transfer over to somebody else, to something else, to another industry, to other services that can support other businesses or other people? And then we also talked about making a move before you're ready. You're not going to always feel like you're ready. I didn't feel like I was ready. You didn't feel like you were ready.
No, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
And, and so being open to making moves before you're ready. And then finally, we talked about building discipline. No, still operating like you have a 9 to 5 and scheduling things in, scheduling your lunch,
Mhm.
scheduling when you're sending out emails, scheduling phone calls, scheduling when you're going to be out and about networking, having some sort of structure around what you are doing, around what you are building, around what you are creating. Because what I have learned is that sometimes the job ending, it's not a punishment,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
it's a repositioning.
Yeah, it is. Felt it was like a punishment when it happened to me. Like you said, what was in the position?
And what that next thing may look like
Mhm.
may not be what you were thinking. So, guys, be open to what you can create, dream big and write down those dreams.
Mhm.
When I was doing the spotlight, because it started in 2021 before I left my job, I never dreamed of being able to be out in different businesses, interviewing the biggest real estate expert in the DMV, but look at God, right? And so before we wrap, Easy, share with us some of the things that you have coming up next.
I have a home buying seminar on February 28th, 2026, the last Saturday of the month. I usually have them the last Saturday of every month where I give free information about home buying. I have a credit repair specialist there that talks about credit repair. I have my loan officer there speaking about loans. I have a real estate lawyer right there to answer any questions you have.
Okay. All right, great. And then remind us where we can find you on social media.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Oh, what else? I'm on everything under the name EZE OKWODU. Or you can check out the Easy Way. Hashtag the Easy Way.
And I'll make sure that I have all that information linked, and I'll make sure that I share the flyer for the seminar. My sister went to the last one, and she said, yeah, she found it very useful. She said it was really good information, and she enjoyed hearing from some of the folks that you brought in to speak. And so, guys, make sure you're following Easy. And if this conversation is resonating with you, make sure you stay locked in for new episodes of The Easy Way that drop every fourth Wednesday on the Spotlight DMV. You don't want to miss what we're going to be unpacking next. And so, again, you may not know what's next. You may feel lost. You may feel uncertain. And this season, as uncomfortable as it is, you are rebuilding. You can rebuild. And this is the easy way to do it. We'll see you next time.